Chiefs fans, welcome to Chiefs Live, brought to you by your Midwest Ford dealers. Lots in store today as OTAs continue at One Arrowhead Drives. The Chiefs are almost at the halfway point of this offseason already. It seems like it just started yesterday. In fact, it started last week. But once Friday's practice is complete, the Chiefs will be halfway through OTAs. They'll still have a week of OTAs next week, and then veteran minicamp, which is mandatory, the only mandatory portion of this offseason program still to come. Let's check out the Arrow headlines for today, as we will be talking about, well, what everybody's talking about, Jonathan Baldwin and his big catch. Jonathan Baldwin turning in quite the OTA performance so far. We'll also be talking about Jaleel Brown, another guy who is standing out through OTAs. Really, if you pick an offensive and a defensive MVP of OTAs so far, yes, they are practices. Yes, there are no pads. And yes, the contact/team periods are limited. But Jonathan Baldwin and Jaleel Brown, they are both standing out on their respective sides of the football. And of course, when we get to this wide two shot, our man B-Rad is back today in the house. B-Rad is back. B-Rad, after a Mitch Holthus had bumped you.
I never really left.
You never really left. You've been in the room, but Mitch Holthus had been bumping you for several weeks. Mitch had a speaking engagement in the great state of Iowa.
Does that guy ever take a day off? Does Mitch Holthus, it's very good to be back. Does Mitch ever take a day off?
Did you turn on like Fox College Sports this weekend?
No.
I was scrolling through Fox College Sports and Missouri Valley Baseball Tournament. Voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, giving you the play-by-play. So no, I don't think so. And I heard he might be doing some super regional stuff for ESPN. So the guy goes from football to basketball, and then he's doing postseason college baseball. So no, the guy doesn't sleep.
Those chops and that voice, that velvet hammer, does not take an off season.
Let me ask you something about Jonathan Baldwin. Top catch you've seen Jonathan Baldwin make? What would it be?
His touchdown catch in a regular game.
Touchdown catch in a regular game. See, most Chiefs fans, and I agree with you, most Chiefs fans would say, oh, it's the one on Brian Dawkins. But technically, that's not a catch.
That was pretty amazing.
I like your 39-yard touchdown catch, too. People forget how good of a catch this was. Let's check it out. Let's go to the 39-yard touchdown catch. Jonathan Baldwin's first as a Kansas City Chief. It happened on Halloween night against the San Diego Chargers.
First down play, fake handoff. Castle setting his feet, wants to gun it long. He's throwing for the end zone, and he's throwing for Baldwin, who makes the catch. Touchdown, Kansas City! A 39-yard deep post pattern. And for Jonathan Baldwin, it's his first National Football League touchdown.
Not bad, right? And Adam Pellegrino with the big shot there of getting Baldwin in the slow one. That's not NFL films. That's 65
in the business,
coverage.
He crushed that
he crushed it. So not bad. That's one of Jonathan Baldwin's top catches as a pro. Let's go to the ones that fans like to say is the top catch. The catch that wasn't a catch.
Now, you kind of tricked me. I know you're going to show the Denver Broncos catch where he literally goes around Brian Dawkins and catches it on the small of his back. It was negated because of a procedure penalty, which really didn't have a lot to do with the actual play itself. But yes,
it was an illegal formation penalty, I believe, or illegal alignment on Steve Breston.
Earlier this season, when we did the offensive top 10 of 2011, that was one of the top vote getters. But it's not technically a play, so we had to put in that best of the rest.
The 49-yard catch that was not a catch. Let's check that one out.
Tight right, they fake the weak side lead. Castle's going to throw a long left in a jump ball situation. Flag on the play. Is that ball caught? As Baldwin goes back and makes an incredible catch wrapped around the body of the defender, Dawkins.
Give him to Charles Barkley.
And that's just ridiculous. That's my best Charles Barkley I can do there.
Is that like Walter Matthau?
Walter Matthau. Okay, so that's the one fans remember. And then there's the forgotten
that's
catch.
Insane.
It's an insane catch. Ridiculous circus grab. But there's the one people don't talk about.
That is actually why Brian Dawkins retired.
Then there's the catch that no one talks about. Why? Because, well, who remembers the Jets game? Was that Todd Haley's last stand? I believe it was. The New York Jets and Tyler Palko to Jeremy Urban was the. Yeah, I was there too. I don't remember much of that game. Tyler Palko to Jeremy Urban, I remember, as the only score, which is a forgetful hookup with those two, both no longer part of the Chiefs. But people forget in that slaughtering the Chiefs took in New York about this catch from Jonathan Baldwin. Let's check it out.
First down at the Jet 31. Fade pattern, Baldwin. And Baldwin makes an acrobatic catch, falling on his backside, making a one-handed grab.
Now, why do I start this show with Jonathan Baldwin's 3 best catches as a Kansas City Chief? The guy only had 21 catches all of last season. He had 260-something yards receiving and just 1 touchdown. In fact, the 39-yard touchdown catch against San Diego was his only catch over 20 yards. Jonathan Baldwin's rookie season, at times it was memorable, but most of all, it was forgetful. It started off with a preseason thumb injury. In fact, he and Matt Castle, if you take the 2 injuries, only worked together for 4 games all of last season. Jonathan Baldwin was not a big impact part of the Kansas City Chiefs in 2011. So why bring up that and why bring up these 3 catches, Brad? Because
I don't know, Josh. Tell me.
it's the catch that everybody's talking about, and it's like, Babe Ruth pointing and calling a shot. Did he really do it? Well, we don't know because there's no film of that, right? Isn't that the kind of theme with Babe Ruth? If a tree falls in the woods and no one sees it here, did it really fall? Well, Jonathan Baldwin's catch this week, I saw live. It was a one-handed grab. It was ridiculous. He goes up, he skies, he palms. It was an alley-oop looking type of catch. It trumped all 3 of those catches. Now, Jonathan Baldwin, we'll hear from him.
He's had a few of those in camp.
Yeah, he has.
So
He has had a few in OTAs, but his catch on Monday trumped all of those. I'll say it. And some of the players thought maybe the one on Dawkins was better, but they were at least comparable. Jonathan Baldwin has been the talk of OTAs for the Kansas City Chiefs right now. Now, the conspiracy theorists out there, and I've heard from them, say, well, this is all team contrived because of Dwayne Bowe's contract situation, because he's getting the looks as the number 1 receiver right now, because they want Dwayne Bowe to feel, hey, there's a guy who's making plays. I think that conspiracy theory, while I kind of like it, that's a cool conspiracy theory, it's not just us talking about it.
That's a little advanced. That's a little Jason
when
Bourne mind manipulation ass.
You've got the radios talking about it.
Yeah.
You've got the Kansas City Star writing about it. Jonathan Baldwin's OTA performance so far through 2 weeks, we'll go back to it again, Brad. It's practice. There's no pads. It's a time for overreaction. But his practice performance over these two weeks has been nothing short but spectacular. He's making diving catches. He's catching the intermediate routes. The guy is making big-time plays. And for the Chiefs' passing game to take flight in 2012, yes, they need Dwayne Bowe back. There's no question about that, and I don't think there's any question that Dwayne Bowe will be back, whether it's in a 1-year franchise tender he ends up signing or if it's a long-term contract. I don't really even think that's debatable. Mitch Holthus and I talked about this at length last week. Check out the archive for all the reasons. We think there's some reason to worry about Dwayne Bowe, but it has nothing to do with his contract. For the Chiefs' passing game, though, to take flight, Dwayne Bowe needs to be there. Steve Breston needs to do what Steve Breston did last year as a nice complementary player. It'd be great to see Devin Wiley step in wherever McCluster lines up. But the thing that really needs to happen, Brad, is Jonathan Baldwin needs to develop into not only a consistent threat, but a reliable intermediate threat across on 3rd down. He's going to make the athletic, freakish plays. We know that. We saw the 3 last year. But can they come on a consistent basis? And can he be relied upon to be a guy who's consistently catching 4, 5, 6 passes a game, 50, 60, maybe he gets the 120-yard game every now and then. But can he be that consistent guy? Because last year we did not see that, and that's the big story right now in OTAs. Jonathan Baldwin is showing the signs of second-year development. Is it legit? Is it real? Can this guy take that big step in 2012?
It's crazy to think about, but if you really look at last offseason, there really were no OTAs. I mean, he had his mishap in training camp, and he missed so much practice. He had the injury to the finger. He couldn't really practice or do anything a lot, even like through training camp and into the season. So this is, when you're injured like that and you are sidelined like that and you hear the critics and you hear this, Baldwin's the kind of a guy who, coming out of the draft, a lot of people criticize about his attitude and this and this and this. And you sit on the sideline and you really hear what everyone is saying. You do this. So, but guys like John Baldwin, guys from such a historic football area where he's actually from in PA, you literally, that motivates people like John Baldwin. And now that he has an opportunity, he's fully healthy and he has an offseason to train and he knows he's healthy, guys like that step up to the occasion, whether it's OTAs, which you and I were talking about, and I think it's just OTAs. I think there's nothing else going on. People in Kansas City don't care about the NBA or NHL playoffs or SummerSlam or anything like that.
SummerSlam. Is that your wrestling reference of the day? Brad Young's wrestling reference of the day.
When is SummerSlam? People are such...
Who's Jericho wrestling?
People are just... We'll
Big
get
Jericho
to it later.
fan.
Well, people are on such a Chiefs high all the time that it's not even June yet, and people are so geeked up about the Chiefs that they're talking about a catch a receiver had in a passing drill, which is kind of exciting if you're a Chiefs fan or you're in the building that we are, because that's saying that gets me excited to be what's it going to be like up in St. Joe. Like,
absolutely.
Whenever we're doing our live shows up there and we're out trying to get a burger or something like this, and people always come up to you and try to talk to you, that stuff's exciting. And I think it's just ramping up. But back to John Baldwin to finish my point. He's a motivated guy, and not having the offseason like he had last season and not being able to fully contribute all year because of the injury, I think he's coming back with a vengeance in a big way. And that's going to be nothing but, you're going to see nothing but good things coming out of it because of that whole situation.
Since I'm in front of the camera, I'll do my best reenaction of Jonathan Baldwin's catch. Of course, I didn't explain why. No, I'm not going to stand.
Anybody got a football?
Anybody got a football? So he, we get the producers throwing footballs over here. The reason that it wasn't unable to be shown, why no one has footage of it, and the media that was there saw it live, but it occurred during the end of a 2-minute drill, which is a team competitive period. That's an area, a time of training camp where cameras aren't rolling. Just the team's eye in the sky, basically because of every team. That's their policy. Schematically, you don't want, especially this time of year under a new offensive coordinator, some of your schemes and the things you're doing, the movements, to get out there and be on tape for other teams to get a hold of. You want every competitive advantage you can. So all media cameras are off during this time. And that's the reason that this play, it occurred at a point of practice where no one can see it. The best way I can describe it, there was about 10 seconds left on the play clock. The Chiefs were doing a 2-minute drill where they had a minute 30. I believe they were on their own 40. They needed a touchdown. They had one timeout. Castle had brought the team down to about the opponent 38, 35-yard line, somewhere in that range, close to 40 yards when all was said and done, and he threw the football. And there was about 10 seconds left, so this was going to be the last play of this period. So the defense is going to win or offense is going to win. So Castle basically throws a jump ball. He gets single coverage from Stanford route, which right now with the safeties out, I wonder if there was blown coverage on the play, because in this instance, you know they're going to go deep to the end zone. It didn't seem like there was any over-the-top safety help. And as we know, Eric Berry and Kendrick Lewis are both being rested from in-season injuries a year ago. So you had some backups out there. But you had Stanford route one-on-one coverage with Jonathan Baldwin. They get to about the goal line, and Baldwin goes up for this jump ball Castle's put up. And it looks like Stanford route's basically Baldwin skies. I mean, the guy's got a crazy vertical. He's 6'4". He skies up for this ball. It looks like route is climbing a ladder, trying to climb to get to Baldwin. So you think there's going to be a penalty flag. Now you had a different when you watched it, you had a different take that maybe there was a push off from Baldwin. I think the majority of people thought that it was route who was the defensive pass interference. Either way, there was a lot of contact when they go up for the ball. Baldwin skies up. The vertical's huge. He takes it, and the ball, it's one arm extended, like full-on extension right here, highest point, and the ball just sticks, just thunk. And he falls backwards with his arm still extended into the end zone, and the ball, it kind of came in towards him at the end, but he pulls it in. But he kind of leaves out, and the ball just went, it's like it just stuck. If you and I put our hands and stick him, it wouldn't even stick like that. His teammates go crazy. The media there that's watching is like, oh my gosh. In fact, the joke was Martin Rucker had made a phenomenal catch earlier in practice, a nice diving full extension, and people were saying, well, sorry, Rucker, your catch isn't getting in the news after this game. It's Jonathan Baldwin's catch. So that's the best thing I can do to give that catch justice. We talked to Jonathan Baldwin after practice to get his thoughts on it. And you talk about maturity, Brad, and the locker room incident he had, and all the things that were said about him coming out of Pittsburgh, the diva mentality, not taking to coaching once he got here. And so it's not just maturity on the field, but it's a maturity off the field. And I really like how he answered these questions about this catch that was the talk of Chiefs practice on Tuesday. Let's hear what he had to say.
Well, it was a 2-minute situation. Coach is always talking about make plays. I think the situation was a minute and 30. One timeout, we needed a touchdown, so I just had to step up and make a play.
I mean, do you feel like when it's kind of one of those jump ball situations that you're always going to have an advantage in those situations?
Well, as receivers, we always want to make the play. So I just want to go and make every play that I possibly can, and I was fortunate to make that play today.
Is that like a basketball alley-oop play almost? It's almost like you went up and palmed the ball, it looked like.
It was kind of like that, but, you just got to continue to build and build off every day. So that's a stepping stone. Just keep on building and keep improving every day.
How does that compare to the catch you made against Denver last year, the one they took away? I mean, different circumstances, but.
Oh, well, you know, they both was pretty good catches, you know, but still, like I said, you got to move on now and get ready for the next day.
I like that Jonathan Baldwin kind of downplays it. Got to move to the next one. And Brad, you kind of share that view on this as well. I asked you off air, saying, what does he have to do to take that next step? And you basically said the same thing.
The answer was do that in a regular season game when it counts for 6.
Because right now, what does it count for?
That's the next step.
What does it count for?
It's interesting we talk about it because, yes, the guy's developing. The guy mentally seems like he's there. But we see guys every year in the combine that are just complete freaks. Virgil Green from Nevada. The guy didn't catch a ball last season. He was the guy in the combine everyone was gushing about and this and that. And there, you know, all these different people that have such good camps, and you see on like Pro Football Talk and all these people talking about all these different unknown rookies and all these people coming out of nowhere in practice. And it's like, how could you even tell? A lot of times maybe these guys are going up against undrafted free agents that are just a camp body. Like, how do you know what's really going on? And what can the guy – he has to prove me what he could do during game time speed. And I believe he can do it. The guy's done it before. The guy's a big-time playmaker. And there's going to be – he's going to make some really, really exciting plays all year long. I just hope the majority of those aren't in practice and the majority of those are in the end zone at Arrowhead.
Absolutely. It's a good start, and right now it's a great point, Brad. It's nothing more. It's a good start, and you want to see him take that second-year jump. Well, you'd rather him start off like this than start off poor and dropping every pass, but he's got a long way to go until he reaches not only, I would say, an elite level, but just a consistent level, being a consistent guy who the Chiefs can go to when they need a big play. Right now, Dwayne Bowe is really the only proven receiver on this team that can be a go-to guy, and he even struggles with consistency still from time to time. Another player, as I said at the beginning of the show, who's made a lot of heads turn with his play during OTAs is a reserve, and he's one of 18 defensive backs competing for a roster spot. Now, Jaleel Brown's an interesting guy, Brad, because with 18 guys competing for roster spots, Route and Flowers are going to be your stars on the corner. It's the nickel position, the dime position, the third safety behind Lewis and Barry. It's all those reserve spots in the secondary that are really where the competition comes from. And for a guy who played just 29 defensive snaps all of last season, you would think, yeah, you're a fourth-round pick, but that doesn't give you a ton of job security. Jaleel Brown has job security because he's a special teams ace. Jaleel Brown's a guy who became one of the team's best special teams players as the season went on. They liked that about him at Colorado. He was a special teams player of the year for the Buffaloes before he was drafted in 2011. And he was one of the most consistent and reliable special teams performers for the Chiefs last season. Between him and Corey Greenwood, those are guys, reserves on this spot that are going to be really tough to unseat for roster spots, even if they don't play a single defensive snap in all of 2012 because they are that valuable on special teams. But Jaleel Brown wants more. You can read about it on KCChiefs.com. I posted an article earlier this morning about Jaleel wants to be involved more on defense. He wants to make more plays. He wants to win that nickel job. He wants to win that dime job. And Brad, the most play time he got last season came against the New England Patriots, and John McGraw had a shoulder injury. So McGraw was out. What do the Patriots have from a defensive back perspective that's tough to defend?
Oh, yeah, Tom Brady.
Tom Brady, and how about those two towers at tight end, Gronk and Hernandez?
I thought it was like a trick question.
Yeah. So what did the Chiefs do? They used Jaleel Brown, who's kind of a hybrid guy. He's 6'1", 204 pounds, and they man him up on Gronk. They man him up on Hernandez, and that's kind of the role that Brown can really play if he develops. In OTAs thus far, Brown's been all over the field. He had a pick six against Brady Quinn to end competitive periods earlier this week, but his plays didn't just start this week. He had a near interception earlier this week. Last week he got his hands on several footballs. If there's been a guy on the defensive side of the field, especially in the secondary, that's been a standout, it's been Jaleel Brown. And so you look at him, Brad, when the Chiefs drafted him, they thought hybrid. Not a safety, he's a corner, but he's safety size. He's one of those special players where when you go up against
those guys are so
Antonio
valuable to have,
Gates,
especially when you go late into the season, those guys are so valuable to have because they could literally, you could plug and play them in a lot of different places, although it is very different to play corner and safety. If you got a guy that goes down to a pretty serious injury, it's nice to have a guy like that can fill in or if you have a hybrid guy like that that's a little bit bigger who can play special teams and could be very effective, just like we saw in those highlights.
Yeah, and Bob Gretz and I talked with Jahlil outside his locker just the other day, not only about special teams and how that helped his performance last year and helped him prepare for the NFL, but also about his goals for this season, him getting a lot of hands on the football in practice and what he wants to do. Jahlil gave some great answers, some great insight not only into his special teams play, but also what he's trying to do for the Chiefs going into 2012. Let's take a listen.
The special teams contribution you were able to make, did that come easy to you? Is that just your athletic ability taking off and going and tackling and blocking?
Yeah, I would say it definitely helps to have a little athleticism, athletic ability, and that definitely gives you an edge. But I would say playing special teams a lot in college definitely helped me. I was actually a special teams player of the year my freshman year in college. Played all under my sophomore year, a little junior year until I started playing a lot on defense. But I always played special teams, and that gave me an edge. I feel like some guys in college, they come to the NFL and they don't have any special teams experience, and you see those guys kind of struggle early on until they kind of get the hang of it. I feel like I came in, had the hang of it already, plus have a little athleticism to go with that, and that definitely boosted my performance throughout the season.
Plus, you got guys who come in who haven't played special teams and don't want any part of playing special teams.
Yeah, it's tough to get in your mindset if you don't have any special team experience. That's sometimes you think of special teams as something that's minor. You don't realize until you get to the NFL a lot of times that it's very important. You see all kind of game-changing events happen on special teams, and that's when you begin to realize that it is very important. The coaches see it as very important, and that's how you have to treat it.
What's your goal coming into this offseason with this program and for the season? What's your goal?
Just to play great and everything I do and show improvement. I want to show improvement. Special teams, I want to show improvement in the defensive backfield. I want to be able to get on the field this year and play on defense and help contribute to the team's success a little more, not only on special teams but also on defense as well.
Does this defense, Romeo's defense, is it kind to you? I mean, does your abilities fit it well?
Definitely, it's almost the exact same defense, minus the different play schemes. But the whole idea of a lot of coverages were what we ran in college. So if apart from the names of a lot of defenses, I ran the same thing when I was in college. So it was almost like I got a jump start, in college working with my college DB coach.
What's different about playing this offseason versus when you came in last year? I mean, you're getting your hands on a lot of football so far during OTAs.
It's a lot different. It's like night and day. Last year I came in a little heavy because obviously we had a lockout and I was unable to work out with the intensity that I could this year because I didn't have a contract set up last year. So there was the risk of injury and that kind of prohibited me from going every day and working out full go. This year I come into it, I got a contract, I'm on the team, so I can get started early on. I can get started back in February, March, and work on my body weight and be ready to go when I get out here. And also having a year under your belt is probably the most helpful that it's been, because now I got an idea of how it is to play in the NFL. I know what the receivers are like, and you realize that your technique has to be better, and that kind of helped me out coming here. But now I feel so much more comfortable. There's no getting the feel of the NFL or the defense. I kind of know it. It's like I've done it already, so that has a lot to do with me getting my hand on a few more balls this year.
For those reserve defensive back positions, how do you kind of view the competition? It seems like there's a lot of guys vying for a few spots there, and a lot of competition from both young guys and some veterans.
I see it as positive. I mean, when you're at a solid position at the top, you kind of have the tendency to sometimes want to slack a little. And when you're at the bottom, coming from the bottom up in reserve position, you got to be on point every single practice, every single play, every single drill we have, every single meeting. You got to be able to know what you're talking about when the coaches ask you, and that kind of builds success right there. I mean, competition is something that helps. I feel like it helps me on the field.
Does that fuel the plays we're seeing out there, the getting your hands on footballs, making breaks, getting interceptions?
It does. It definitely does. I mean, there's no room to say, hey, I'm tired. I'm going to go home early today. I'm not going to stay and get in the cold, so I'm not going to watch film, because I don't have that leeway, the ability to do that right now. I'm trying to, go and get a starting position. So when I see other guys going home, I'm saying, hey, let me go ahead and stay and watch the extra film and try and give me an edge. And, I mean, luckily that kind of contributed to me making a play today at practice, and hopefully it will in the future as well.
You certainly had kind of one of those plays of the day, a little pick six to end it.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, that was the first pick six, or first pick, I believe, this whole off-season training. So it felt good to be the first guy to get that. Hopefully I'll be able to get some more to help the team out and get some during the season.
Right now, Jaleel Brown's primary competition would be Javier Arenas. You would say it would be Travis Daniels from his experience of being a veteran, being a nickel dime and kind of spot starter when an injury were to occur to Flowers or Brandon Carr. But right now, Travis Daniels is working as a safety. So Jaleel Brown has a real opportunity, just as Jonathan Baldwin does, working as the #1 receiver during OTAs. Jaleel Brown has real opportunity to get in there, get snaps as a nickel guy, as a dime guy. But him, if he develops his real value besides special teams, if he just plays 10 snaps a game on defense, which would give him, what, 160 for the year. If he just played that little, but he was manning up on tight ends, and being that guy who can cover the guys that are uncoverable in some parts. Either what you're going to do, if you have to cover these elite pass-catching tight ends, Brad, you can't put a linebacker on them. That's the mismatch they want. You can put some safeties on them, but what does that do? It draws a safety from being over top, and that's when you can get your wide receivers the ball deep. If you can have a sub-package guy, a sub-package nickel guy with the size of Jaleel Brown, 6'1", 204, that's the perfect breed of player that runs and moves like a corner, that is a corner, but built like a safety. That's the guy you have to have, and they're so few and far between, and teams are searching for these guys left and right, and they're tough to develop. But if Jaleel Brown can take that next step, if he can be that guy, that would be a key part that really this Chiefs team has been missing. Javier Arenas, he improved last year, especially the second half, but you're not going to put him on Gronkowski. Just throw it up, you know. He was good against Wes Welker out of the slot. That's where Javier Arenas can be, and he's good blitzing off the edge. You need a bigger guy who can be physical with those tight ends to be able to defend that.
You couldn't be more right. Having a guy like Jaleel Brown is unbelievably valuable. Well, let me tell you what else is unbelievably valuable. Speaking of value.
Oh, no, here we go. I knew it was coming. It's a season ticket plug, folks.
Chiefs fans, did you know that today was your last day to get your personalized? It's actually Josh's.
This is mine.
Josh got his that says Chiefs on the back.
That's my appearance one. The one I'm getting is actually
going. It's the guy that gets it as a wardrobe.
You know, when you go out, like, and be amongst the people and stuff.
Okay.
I'm actually being nice. I'm using my season ticket holder one to buy my wife a jersey. Well, I guess not buying, it's free, right? Because it's a season ticket holder. So you can get, that's the point, you can get women's jerseys. You can get a jersey for yourself. Do whatever you want.
Fully customized. And hey, Kevin, can we get a shot of this? These are real jerseys, folks. He's not paying attention.
Hey, producer Kevin, why don't you just come over here and hold it then if you're not going to
If we can get it, basically, I just want you to know that this isn't like one of those crappy stamp-on jerseys. It's like a real
tackle twill right
personalized jersey. I mean, it's like for real. You also get a season ticket holder patch, which I was just actually on the website to see that you could either
optional.
Get optional, you could put it on or off, whatever you got to do. But why are we talking about these jerseys? Not because Josh is bragging, because he gets free stuff like this.
Because you want to put 30. If you want to see Jaleel Brown play live, you put 30 on there and you can wear it.
But also, today's the last day that if you are a season ticket holder and you did get the free jersey, today's the last day you could order and then have your jersey to you by the first regular season game. So today's the last day to order that. And if you're not a season ticket holder yet and you want to be, I was informed that you could still get your free jersey with the purchase of 2 or more season tickets starting as low as $250 a seat. That's cheaper than most flights.
It is, yeah,
that's a pretty good deal.
Cheaper than the fight
and you get a jersey and you can put your name on it. And can we get a zoom, Kevin? Can we get a zoom? Check this out, folks. This is real. This is a real jersey here for you. And there's a little website you could go to it. Check that out.
It's the man of the people, a salesman.
It's out here. Look at that. Nice focus. See, that's like a real jersey. Josh touched that.
It's real. It feels good to the touch.
It feels really good at the touch, and it's cool. You get that season ticket holder patch right here.
It's got a nice dry fit for that hot game against the Falcons.
It really feels like we're doing Home Shopping Network now. And I'll tell you what, if you call within the next 5 minutes,
we'll throw in an autographed Derek Johnson media guide.
I'm going to
I've got one if you want.
Josh Looney press packet. But to be completely honest, you could still call, order your season tickets today. Call 888-99-CHIEFS, or it's 888-99-24433. They got flexible payment plans. They got all kinds of really good stuff. But also...
But the real thing, all sales pitches aside, if you're a season ticket holder, I know sometimes I'll get around to that. If you want to buy that home opener against Atlanta, go on. It takes you 5 minutes to do. Pick your number, get your size, get your thing taken care of. In fact, I haven't even done it yet for me. I need to do it and get my wife her jersey this afternoon. Do it so that you can wear it for the Falcons game. Of course, this promotion's going on all the way through September until the season starts. So if you buy season tickets later, you can still get it. You just won't have your jersey by opening day. You'll get it later in the year.
And also, if you did want to, if you didn't want season tickets, but you want to come to some games, you don't want to buy all the tickets, maybe you travel a lot, you get a lot of people. They also have a new plan. It's the new divisional pack this year. Maybe you don't care about the Falcons, but all you want the Chiefs to do is beat the Broncos, the Raiders, and the Chargers. There's a 3-game package that they have where you could get just the divisional games. Also have like, there's a pick 5 option where you pick certain 5 amount of games you want to go to. They have all kinds of different things, flexible things.
Yeah, it's all on KCChiefs.com. Check it out. Click tickets. It's there. If you're a season ticket holder already, get your jersey ordered. We'll be right back for the second half hour of Chiefs Live in just a minute.
Together, we are music. Hearts beating to the same drum. We are many, but we are one. Brothers of the Sun.
The concert event of the year. Brothers of the Sun Tour. Superstars Kenny Chesney, Tim McGraw. With Grace Potter and the Nocturnals and Jake Owen. Tickets are on sale now. Presented by Corona Light.
So I'll just sit right here and have another beer in Mexico. It's summertime. Sweet summertime.
The new Chiefs team store is located on the Founders Plaza on the north side of the new Arrowhead Stadium. Open on game days and from 10 to 6 Monday through Saturday throughout the season, the team store has the largest selection of Chiefs merchandise in the Kansas City area. Featuring official sideline apparel from Reebok, and you can shop 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at kcchiefs.com.
Welcome back to Chiefs Live, brought to you by your Midwest Ford dealers. Joining us is who I like to say is the football analyst of Kansas City. He covers the Chiefs, he covers college football locally, and he also covers high school football. Former Chiefs offensive lineman Rich Baldinger joins us. Rich, how you doing, man?
Josh, you're too good to me so early in the morning here, 10 o'clock. Well, for most people, that's normal hours, but yes, thank you very much. I appreciate joining you, buddy.
Well, Baldy, you were out there sweating with me at Chiefs OTAs earlier this week. You've been here for all the practices that have been open to the media. Just first off, what are your overall thoughts on this team as they enter this offseason?
It's going to be an exciting season for this team. You know, we know what Romeo means to the players and everything and the way they responded to him. And I think just going out there in the field, there's a good attitude. You see a good interaction between all the assistant coaches and the players. And just seems to be a little different than what it was last year. So look forward to good things. You know, I think this, you know, it's so nice not having that lockout. I mean, for the younger kids to be able to get out there on the field, get with their coaches, understand what it's going to take, and now also be mixing in with the veterans. When you go into summer camp, it's just going to be, you know, just a normal routine. So look for good things this year out of the young players.
Baldy, you played 133 games in your career. You started 103. You played over 10 years in Kansas City. In your opinion, especially from a veteran perspective, how important are these offseason practices really for a guy who's a veteran, even with the new offensive coordinator and Brian Dable and some changes? What can guys really get out of this?
Well, I think maybe for some of the veteran players, you know, the techniques and everything, you're going to really work on that once you get into your pads, especially the offensive and defensive linemen, you know, some of the older guys. But it's good just to be out there on the field. The younger guys get to see how you work, how you react, how you move with the coaches, kind of get a sense of what it takes to get going and what it, you know, how you have to respond and handle adversity and just the whole thing, you know, just how the practice works. So for the older veterans, you know, yeah, maybe they don't need all of this work, but for the younger guys, it's so important. I mean, you're just picking up terminology, you know, how you're lying on things, what you look at, you know, understanding blitzes, you know, different coverages. There's just so many little things that go on. So for the younger guys, it's great. For the older guys, you know, maybe they don't need as much, but still, though, it's just getting that whole team together and getting everything in unison. That's what you're trying to do this time of the year.
Well, it's a much shorter off-season program. We just began last week, and here, once Friday rolls around, it'll be halfway through the OTA period. The Chiefs will have 2 more weeks left. So things have changed under the new CBA. Give us a kind of a compare and contrast of what OTAs and the offseason was like when you were playing maybe under Marty Schottenheimer versus what's going on this year in Kansas City.
Well, I think the one thing, the big difference with the new CBA this year and before what it was in the past is there's one practice during summer camp. There isn't 2 days. They just went on and on and on. So that's nice for the players. I think it just helps you in terms of for staying fresh for the whole season. I know some of those camps of Marty and guys before him, I had by the name of Ray Perkins, they would just do 2 days until the end of the calendar. So you didn't have to worry about ever having a day off. But I think for the OTAs, it's more limited now out there in the field and things. Again, it's probably helping more of the older players and things, and just making sure you're limiting your time in the field, but yet it's still giving enough time for the younger players to get out there. And as I said, just get an understanding. And Josh, it's so important. In the day, you used to show up to camp and they would hand you a book, and that was it. And nobody explained any terminology, what they were looking at, what they did. And believe me, some of us offensive linemen, our heads were spinning when we were trying to get through practices. So for the younger guys, I just think this is great. It really is a way to get started and get some confidence. So when you head into camp your first year, you feel like you can help out this team and hopefully have a long career in the NFL.
Each day we go out there, it's like the lineman in you comes back to life. You kind of, I don't know if it's subconsciously or purposely, you kind of make your way over there towards the offensive line drills, towards the defensive line drills. It seems that when people are watching the receivers, and Jonathan Baldwin, he's had a great OTAs so far, when they're watching him make these catches, you're watching the line play. So what have you seen out of the offensive line so far? What do you think are the strengths and possibly what still needs improvement?
Well, Josh, I always tend to go like to watch the athlete, so that's why I tend to go watch especially the offensive linemen, and defensive linemen. But, there are a lot of question marks there with the offensive line, and, in terms of some young guys coming in, and Allen and Stevens, the rookies coming in, just want to see how they're kind of moving around on the field, their understanding of alignment, stances, reading things. Again, to the defensive line, we all know about Dontari Poe. I mean, first-round draft pick and his physical statute and the way he's been moving. I just will see how he's improving each day on all the little things that he's going to need to be that, number one nose tackle that we need here. And so it's good. It's good to go over there. I get to see all those guys and everything because, it all starts up front. You don't get it done in the trenches. Nothing else is going to happen. So right now I'm seeing some progress and everything, and the young guys are getting some chances to kind of just walk through things. Coaches literally get to hold your hand as you walk through a certain step. That this is the way that we do combo blocks, or this is the way we take on double teams. So, as I said, for the younger guys, this is invaluable time to just come out here and literally do baby steps on every single drill. Okay, this is how I line up on this way. This is what I look at. This is the way I should move. And you just don't have time. Even when summer camp starts, you're moving through things, and before you know it, you're into the preseason games, and forget about it. Then the fundamentals just go, you just don't have time for it anymore. So that's why for the younger guys, I can't stress enough to you how this, right now, you've got to get a good base, because this is going to be so important, because this is what's going to allow you to propel forward into summer camp and keep moving along and being able to help out this team this year.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, especially with Jeff Allen, a guy who played 47 consecutive games at the University of Illinois, a guy who a lot of people thought was going to come in here immediately and push Ryan Lilja for a starting job throughout training camp. And he's been a guy who was so durable in college, and then on the first day of OTAs, he injures his ankle, and he's been on the sidelines ever since. How much do you think missing this time for a guy like Jeff Allen is going to impede his progress and potential to maybe push Lilja for a starting position at left guard?
Well, I think the competitive nature will get him once we get back out there in the field. He's going to go right at it again. But it definitely is a setback. I mean, you can sit there, you can look at things going on in the blackboard and the meeting rooms, but until you get out in the field and literally do it, in college they might have asked you to pull and trap this way. Well, this is the way we want you to do it here in the National Football League. So it's walking through things. It's just getting that physical sense of, well, how do the guards, the rest of the line work, and how do the running backs flow, and what's the quarterback doing, and making all the calls in the huddle. So, yeah, it sets you back a little bit, but believe me, the one thing this man's going to learn about is every year you go in to get ready for the season, you want to be 100% healthy, because you don't want to have any tweaks, because there's no time for healing once the season starts. So more important now, get healthy, be ready to go for the football season. And the little bit I did get to see of him, this young man's got a lot of good quickness, good foot quickness, good athletic ability. That's just going to help him that much more when he gets back into practicing.
Yeah, and the Chiefs are treating their injuries very costly, obviously resting Jamal Charles, Eric Berry, and Tony Moyaki, as well as Brandon Seiler throughout all of OTAs. Add Kendrick Lewis to that list, as well, as he had a pectoral injury in the season finale against Denver, forcing a Tim Tebow fumble. Rich, earlier you talked about Dontari Poe, and I think Chiefs fans on this show are sick of me answering their question the same way. Everyone asks me, how does Poe look? And I say, I don't know, because there's no pads on. I don't have a good read on what this guy can do just yet. I mean, he looks the part. He looks freakish. He obviously moves around well. But from what I've seen out there, and obviously not having played on the offensive line at the NFL level and seeing defensive linemen up close and personal, I can't get a good read on him. Maybe with your eyes, have you got a read on him, or is it one where we're going to have to wait till the pads come on?
You're always going to have to wait till those pads come on until you really get into full contact, and plays are going full speed, and you've got everybody integrated and things. So that's when you're really going to get the full picture. But right now, from what you're seeing, is I'm seeing the improvement in the little things. When they had the rookie mini camp, I saw issues with just getting in a stance. All the proper fundamentals in terms of proper steps, flat back, pad level, hands. You saw, it seemed like every step along the way there was an issue. Well, it seems like now things are moving a little bit more easier for them. Things, just reacting and things. So that's good. You're seeing progress and everything that way. I think the exciting thing about this is, everybody talks about the nose tackle, and I know how important it is in 34, and I think the young man's going to do some good work for us. But to the other side of it, just in the last couple of practices, watching him pass rush, this is an area that has been really a deficit for the Chiefs on the inside defensive tackle position, getting the push, being able to get pressure on the quarterback. And with the little bit I've seen with him now, the change of direction, the counter moves, the pass rush, you're thinking, all right, this kid gets comfortable. Now all of a sudden, he's next to Tamba Ali. It becomes real scary for an offense if you got two guys that can move. So I look for good things out of that. I think that's where he's going to perform better for us right in the beginning in terms of this pass rush. And from what I've seen, the good athleticism, the good feet, good quickness and everything, snap off the ball. That's where we need some help, and that's where I think he's going to have his biggest impact when the season starts.
Baldy, I'll leave you with the theme of the week. We've been talking about players who have been the most impressive during OTAs. My vote offensively has gone to Jonathan Baldwin. Just keeps making catch after catch after catch, including the highlight reel catch he had during Monday's OTA on Stanford Out. Defensively, I've been very impressed with Jaleel Brown. He's competing for time in that sub-package spot, a guy who can match up on tight ends and seems to be making some steps in his second season as a defensive back for the Chiefs. Who's been your most impressive player in what you've seen so far during OTAs?
Well, I guess one of the veterans who've come in and came from the Raiders, Kevin Balls at the tight end position, his ability to block and also get downfield and catch the football. This is exciting for me. I mean, that's an area that has been really weakness for the Kansas City Chiefs for the last couple of years. Just at that tight end position, we all know what it was like when Jason Dunn was out there. You had Willie Rope at that tackle. I see Eric Winston. I see Kevin Boss lining up together on that side. And you know what? I see Jamal Charles taking a lot of runs around the right side, which is very happy. Also, too, young guy, Josh Bellamy, free agent they signed. Watching him in individuals in terms of just getting off the ball, the wide receiver position, break, getting in and out of the ball. This is a guy guy I think that might, lean on the camp. I'll tell you what, he might find himself on this team. So he's been very impressed. I mean, as I said, I think Don Terry Poe's making those moves for us, and I understand how hard it is, that two technique and understanding and changing from what you did in college. But, if he can keep progressing, I mean, that kid, I'll tell you what, he has the size, the strength, and the power, the good work ethic. He can have himself a great career in the National Football League.
Kansas City, he is your hometown football analyst, Rich Baldinger. Rich, thanks a lot for coming on the show today, man.
No problem, Josh. Appreciate it, sir.
All right, Chiefs fans, we'll be back in just a moment with more Chiefs Live, brought to you by your Midwest Ford dealers.
Together, we are music. Hearts beating to the same drum. We are many, but we are one. Brothers of the Sun.
The concert event of the year. Brothers of the Sun Tour. Superstars Kenny Chesney, Tim McGraw. With Grace Potter and the Nocturnals and Jake Owen. Tickets are on sale now. Presented by Corona Light.
Sunset right here and have another beer in Mexico. It's summertime. Sweet summertime.
The new Chiefs team store is located on the Founders Plaza on the north side of the new Arrowhead Stadium. Open on game days and from 10 to 6 Monday through Saturday throughout the season, the team store has the largest selection of Chiefs merchandise in the Kansas City area. Featuring official sideline apparel from Reebok, and you can shop 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at kcchiefs.com.
On our discussion of OTAs on Chiefs Live, brought to you by your Midwest Ford dealers. Let's talk about tight ends, not just one, but two. Two tight end sets have been the norm under Brian Daboll so far during OTAs. And it's interesting because to me, Brad, and I think you'd concur, you take out Baldwin, you take out Brown, a guy who's been surprising in the way he's able to move and has a lot of people exciting, Kevin Boss. He's running well, he's catching routes well, and he's serving right now as your number one tight end. Of course, Tony Moeaki, not in the lineup right now, is working out to the side as he rehabs that injured left knee. So Kevin Boss is getting all the reps at number one. Honestly, I'd expect that to continue even when Moeaki comes back, because you're seeing a lot of Boss lined up next to Eric Winston. You're seeing a lot of him lined up next to Brandon Albert. And Moeaki's a guy you can flex out. He's a guy you can kind of put there as a wing back or a flanker if you have a double tight end and he's lined up, on the heels of Kevin Boss. I kind of expect to see Kevin Boss being the guy on the line and Moeaki a guy they move around. But Brian Daboll using a lot of two tight end sets, and it kind of goes back to what we talked about, Brad, with the Patriots and what Jaleel Brown can do. And being a guy who can defend these sorts of tight ends. The Chiefs, although Moeaki and Boss isn't going to be your renaissance of Gronkowski and Hernandez,
why not?
That's still much better than anything we've seen in a long time in Kansas City. And I'm even including the Jason Dunn, Tony Gonzalez, because really Dunn was just an offensive lineman and an emergency valve. The Chiefs haven't had two pass-catching tight ends in a long time, and Kevin Boss has been impressive with not only his pass-catching ability during OTAs, but he moves a lot better than I originally expected he would coming in.
And it's going to be really interesting, too, just to see not just what the Chiefs do with their tight ends this year, but to see what every other team in the league does, too, because I think that's kind of becoming a trend to see to see what mismatches the Patriots are able to get with those two freak shows that they have lining up at tight end. Guys like Jimmy Graham are coming out of the woodwork playing tight end, like leading their team in receiving. It's absolutely ridiculous. And you see a lot of run on a lot of really athletic tight ends in the draft that I forget what his name was out of Clemson. He was a complete stud. You had a lot of really good guys coming out, and teams aren't afraid to load up with, you don't just have your one stud tight end anymore. You're really loading up to get a few guys. Because what you could do with a guy like a Hernandez or Gronkowski or even Boss or Tony Moeaki, what you can do with those guys, it makes your offense so versatile. And it's not just the way you line up, and if you want them to run out for a short out, it's little. You could flex them off the line, and then they become a blocking back, then they become an H-back. And if you're a linebacker in a lot of the 3-4 systems where maybe your outside linebacker isn't really set up to be the guy who's going to pick those guys up, you create a lot of mismatch problems almost instantly with an audible, which is what Tom Brady and those guys went all the way to the Super Bowl doing all year long
with
no defense.
When you have two pass-catching tight ends, it's a quarterback's dream, and Matt Castle said as much earlier this week when we talked to him about the use of two tight end sets. Kevin Boss, Tony Muaki, these are some targets that Matt Castle's excited to work with in 2012.
What have you seen from Boss so far in camp? How do you like having a veteran like that in camp?
I'm excited about Kevin Boss. He's a guy that's come in and worked very hard. He's dedicated to what he does. He's a true professional, and he's learned the offense quite quickly. And so it's great to have not only him out on the field, but also his leadership in the locker room, because there's a lot of young guys here that are watching him work and respect the fact that he goes out there and works extremely hard each and every day.
The tight ends in general, you have a few new faces, a couple that you're waiting to get back still. I guess, Tony, you're still waiting to get back. Is that kind of a position you're kind of eyeing as well to see how it shakes out?
Absolutely. You know, the tight end position is pivotal in any offense, especially in ours, and not only in the run game but also in the pass game. And you can create mismatches with those guys, and we've got a great competition going on right now. And it'll also be fun to get Tony back when he comes back and he's ready to go as well.
And we're not the only ones talking about New England and the use of their two tight ends. Kevin Boss actually brought it up when we talked to him this week in the locker room as well, of the renaissance of that position and what possibly he and a guy like Tony Muaki could do to opposing defenses.
How do you think a guy with your experience can help out a guy like Tony? You know, he didn't play last year, but there's a lot to learn there.
Yeah, you know, he's a young kid with a lot of talent himself, and you know, it's going to be good for us, just the two of us, to push each other, and we've got you know, we're deep at the position too. You know, it goes, you know, to Jake and you know, Maneri and Rucker. So just the position alone, it's exciting to be a part of that position and to play with Tony, and looking forward to him getting back healthy and being on the field with him at the same time.
With the depth you have at tight end, do you get the sense we might be seeing some two tight end sets, that the tight end's going to be a very active receiver target in this offense?
Yeah, I think so. You know, we've got, like you said, we've got the depth and we got the talent, and you know, it's just a matter of getting out there and making the plays. So you know, the coach continues to call those sets.
It's a pretty exciting time for tight ends in general. The last few years, it's a copycat league. When somebody has great success with using two tight ends and throwing to them so much, it must be looked at as a great opportunity for tight ends right now, because it seems to be like a renaissance for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you said it. You know, it's a copycat league, and you know, you look around the league and see what you know, other teams are doing, and trying to emulate what the Patriots have done with Gronk and Hernandez over there, and the success they've had. So you know, you see Seahawks going out there and getting Winslow and having him and Zach Miller. It's going to be another great duo. So like I said, just looking forward to, you know, Tony getting back healthy and being on the field together.
Now, right now, the Chiefs have, count them, 6 tight ends on their roster. You think they'll probably keep 3. One that no one really talks about, and I think gets overlooked in the conversation, a guy who I think has a very good chance to be on this roster as the 3rd tight end, is Steve Maneri, the offensive tackle turned tight end this offseason. Obviously, Maneri's not going to give you a ton in the receiving game, but you look, if this receiving core, this tight end receiving core, goes as stands, Boss and Muaki, if Muaki's healthy, you've got your receiving guys there. Boss is a better blocker than Muaki, but he's not still not your huge blocking specialist. That's where a guy like Maneri can come in and be that tackle eligible, be the extra guy, the 6th offensive lineman on the field. Brad, you and I were just talking about this at lunch the other day. Anthony Beck essentially served that role last season for the Chiefs, the one that Steve Maneri is trying to get. And it's not a sexy position. It's really what Jason Dunn played for the Chiefs, even though the Chiefs didn't have 2 tight ends.
It's not sexy, but it's very, very, very important.
It's important, and there's a role for a specific blocking tight end. That's what you are. You are the primary blocker, and in this offense, it may be you're the number 3 guy, especially if you have a guy like Muaki and Boss in front of you. And you kind of look at the way this roster's constructed. Martin Rucker is a wild card here, and yes, he could unseat a guy like Steve Maneri if the Chiefs are pleased with the blocking ability of Boss and Moyaki. But Moyaki's still coming back from that knee injury. A guy like Rucker, if Moyaki has to begin the year on PUP, which that's just me talking right now. He started on PUP last season, and all indications he's going to be fine when training camp comes. But he hasn't taken any reps on the field yet. And if he were to start the year on PUP or kind of held back, a guy like Rucker could come in and be one of those receiving type players. You know, Rucker's knock his whole career has been his inability to pass block, and that's kind of been the knock on University of Missouri tight ends who've come into the league. They have these gaudy statistics. They do a great job. It was a knock on Michael Egnew just this past year, who was the top prospect coming out of Mizzou. They can catch, they can do all sorts of things, but they struggle when asked to put their hand in the dirt. Just an interesting thing overall and how this tight end battle will shape up. But don't lose sight of Steve Maneri. He's not going to be a guy who's going to be in the news much for making great catches. This preseason, he may get a ton of snaps in preseason games. You may not even notice it because he may not be getting any receiving targets, but I think he could be an important part to this tight end group.
And a lot of Chiefs fans are out there watching, listening, just thinking to themselves, who is Steve Maneri? You know who Steve Maneri is? Steve Maneri's the guy in that Pittsburgh game who knocked Troy Polamalu out of the game. That's Steve Maneri. That's the game where he was a tackle and he did catch the ball and he caught it out in open field. And as a fan, you're watching like, oh, who is this guy? Next thing you know, Polamalu's on the ground.
Yep, one catch, no yards, but he did take out Troy Polamalu. It wasn't anything dirty. Polamalu just tried to go low, and it was Steve Maneri's massive knee to the helmet that knocked Polamalu a little loopy. And Palco and the Chiefs were unable to take advantage.
Like Icebox from the Little Giants.
But yeah, it was like Icebox. What was the kid's name? He went to school in Leawood, Kansas. The kind of the nerdy kid.
Adam Banks, the hockey player.
Isn't that Mighty Ducks?
Oh yeah.
No, the kid, the nerdy kid.
Goldberg.
In Little Giants. What was the little kid's name? The nerdy one. The snot would come out. Come on, guys. Producers, anyone? Look it up. Somebody Google it for me. The nerdy kid in Little Giants.
Joke is over.
What was his name? Spike? No, it's the tiny nerdy kid. Anyway, he grew up in Kansas City. Icon, local icon.
Maybe his name was Josh.
Let's go to backup quarterback competition. Brady Quinn versus Ricky Stanzi is the competition at backup quarterback for the Chiefs. It looked like Brady Quinn had a pretty commanding hold on the position last week. Stanzi struggled in his opening week of OTAs. Quinn may have, by some accounts, been the best quarterback in practice last week. This week is kind of flipped. Stanzi's running with the twos and has looked very good this week. Quinn not as good. Had the pick six to Jaleel Brown, as we mentioned, and has been high on some throws. This right now seems like it's going to be a flip-flop battle back and forth. You need some sort of competition at the quarterback position going into camp. I think the way the Chiefs are handling 1 week, Quinn working as a two. The next week, Stanzi working as a two. They want competition for this backup job to go in to training camp, if you read between the lines. And we talked to Ricky Stanzi following practice earlier this week, and he said as much. Right now, it's a rotation, and he's just trying to do the best he can. It's a guy who didn't play any snaps as a rookie last season, spent most of his time on the Chiefs scout team.
It's been a while since you've been in a position to run a team.
Yeah. I mean, I think you just, whenever you get the chance to, you try to have fun with it and go out there and learn as much as possible. And like I said, getting it on tape is a huge part of that because you can go back and talk about it and, play the what if and all the scenarios that could possibly happen.
Should we have any significance to the fact that you're running with the twos sometime today?
No. I mean, me and Brady have switched on and off. I've ran with the twos before, and then he was with the threes, and I'll be back with the threes. It's just some on and off switching.
Can you put into perspective how you think last year would have gone for you if you had this opportunity of an off-season program?
I don't know. It's tough to say. Last year was a different scenario. It was a different situation. It was tough to come in at any rookie position and to have to go right into camp. But there was a lot of rookies that did very well in that situation. So it's too hard to play the what-if game, and it's not really of any concern to anybody on this team right now because we're worried about this season and what we have going forward.
But do you think you can really positively benefit from having now this time this year?
Absolutely. I think, anytime you can be with a team before the season and not just come right in, we got a chance to go over the playbook and actually get out there and practice and get reps and get it on tape, that can definitely be an advantage.
How much different is Brian Daboll's offense?
It's, it has its differences, but at the same time, you know, it's a system, and you know, once you learn all the terminology and stuff, you can put it to things that you've done before, and you know, there's similar routes and similar, you know, pass protections and stuff, and for the most part, it's just learning all that new terminology and then going out there and putting it on the field.
So it's really more of a question of terminology. Mental is just making sure you got everything.
I think at some point, you know, by now you've seen every route. Maybe things are put together a little different, and but you know, it's not a drastic going from spread offense to like an option or something like that. It's, you know, very similar. You've seen the routes. Now you're seeing ways that they, you know, combine those routes and ways to get to different packages, and that's, you know, the main difference right now.
Yeah, the chat room coming in correcting. Todd Bosley was the name I was looking for, played Jake Berman. Shauna Waldron was Icebox with Shea and Little Giants. So thank you to the chat room. We're going to wrap up Chiefs Live here for this week, and we'll be back with you again next week. If you want to be like Brad and design your jersey, I caught him during Ricky Stanzi's talk about the backup quarterback position, designing an Eric Crouch number 7 jersey on the Chiefs.
Busted.
Busted, Eric Crouch. So it's the last day. Remember, if you're a season ticket holder and you haven't gone, go to KCChiefs.com. Find all the information there, and you can sign up and get your jersey or your Eric Crouch Chiefs jersey taken care of. And I'm going to go back home and watch reruns of the Little Giants. We'll see you next week on Chiefs Live.